Forget star power. This Suns team has reinvented itself into a relentless mistake-hunting unit.
3 in the way. New career high. Goody. Got it.
And the way Phoenix turned a roster stripped of its biggest names into one of the West's toughest defensive disruptors is both surprising and instructive. Here are 8 principles why the Suns are killing it. Chapter 1. Unexpected rise. If you told anyone before the season that Phoenix would be sitting comfortably in the thick of the Western Conference with a record like 27-15, a lot of people would have laughed. The context matters. The Suns shipped Kevin Durant away in the big trade, and the high-profile offensive ad, Jalen Green, has barely been around, only 2 games. On paper, the franchise looked poised for irrelevance, but what happened instead was a recalibration. Under Frank Vogel, this roster stopped trying to chase star-centric narratives and leaned into a new identity. The results aren't always pretty in the box score, but they're effective. A team that grades to win by doing the dirty work other squads avoid. That pivot from glamour to grind is the through line for what you'll see when you watch Phoenix night in and night out. Chapter 2, leadership and philosophy. Ownership and coaching set the tone. Matt Ishbia's directive during the roster overhaul was blunt. Bring grit, bring toughness, bring guys who will grind.
We didn't win an NBA championship, so we're going to figure out what do we got to change, what do we got to tweak, what do we got to improve.
It's a philosophy rather than a stat line, but it shapes personnel decisions and practice priorities. Vogel's buy-in has been total, he's installed a clear defensive framework, and the players have embraced it. When leadership insists on effort and accountability as non-negotiables, the result is more than hustle plays. It's a culture shift. That consistent message explains why a team lacking multiple transcendent scorers can still compete. Toughness and discipline become repeatable advantages that translate to wins in a punishing conference. Chapter 3, turnovers and disruption. One of Phoenix's most visible fingerprints is how often they create chaos. They're forcing roughly 17 turnovers a game, a figure that puts them among league leaders, and that's no accident. It stems from an aggressive hand-in-the-face approach to perimeter defense. Defenders dart into passing lanes, bodies are used to bother ball handlers, and help as time to pressure the catch, and make simple actions uncomfortable. The cumulative effect is clear: hurried passes, contested shots, and a steady stream of transition opportunities. Offensive efficiency becomes harder for opponents when plays are repeatedly broken before they can develop. Chapter 4, physicality versus stars. Phoenix has turned physicality into a tactical weapon, especially against top scorers. They'll often send smaller, scrappier defenders with permission to be aggressive. Jordan Goodwin is a great example, pinning and prying rather than conceding space. Against a scorer like Kevin Durant, those tiny adjustments matter. A slight forced catch away from a preferred hand or a millisecond delay can flip a possession from a made basket to a turnover. These are micro advantages: contact, disruption, and refusal to concede rhythm. The Suns accept the mismatch on length more often than they did in star-studded years, but they refuse to accept passive effort. Pressure on the catch and physicality around the arc take away comfort, and comfort is the currency of elite scorers. Chapter 5, structure and rotations. That physicality isn't random, there's structure behind it. Phoenix's defense is organized around clear help principles and communicated rotations. When Goodwin is on a star, the plan often includes contingent actions: fight through the screen, force the ball to one side, and have help ready to punish poor spacing. Players like Mark Williams are tasked with protecting paint lanes and converting those physical skirmishes into contested shots on the perimeter. Vogel emphasizes that the primary defender should always see 2 or 3 bodies when the drive comes, and that teaching shows up in the way teams are consistently nudged into uncomfortable shots. The system rewards discipline. If you rotate in time and show correctly, you can live with a foul or 2, because that contact often yields control of the possession and reduces opponent efficiency. Chapter 6, speed, recovery, and matchups. Speed plays a vital role in Phoenix's scheme. They may not have the tallest roster, but they sprint the floor and close out aggressively. That quickness allows for timely help and recovery, turning potential mismatches into team possessions. There are possessions where a defender cheats a step, forcing help that then becomes critical to contesting the shot. Goodwin alone isn't expected to slow down a scorer like Durant, but when he engages physically and teammates rotate, the collective defense can neutralize individual advantages. Matchups are managed cleverly. Defenders are assigned roles rather than strict opponents, so Royce O'Neal can stick to a ball handler while Mark Williams patrols the lane. That flexibility creates the kind of deterrent you'd expect from a bigger team without committing to slow-footed personnel. Chapter 7, depth and extra possession. Depth is the backbone that makes this style sustainable. Last season felt top-heavy. This year, the Suns embraced the second apron era by assembling role pieces who can defend, rebound, and rotate for 25 to 30-minute stints. That tiered rotation keeps energy high and allows Phoenix to pressure for 48 minutes without collapse. Defense breeds offense for this this team, offensive rebounds and forced turnovers lead to more scoring chances. The Suns average about 13 offensive boards a game, and that extra activity on the glass translates to second chance points that make a measurable difference in tight games. Players like Mark Williams and Ryan Dunn aren't floor spacing threats, but their willingness to box out and crash the glass creates easier looks for shooters and sustains possessions that would otherwise end in transition for the opponent. Chapter 8. Offense and role evolution. Offensively, the Suns are less reliant on a singular superstar feat and more committed to collective creation. Grayson Allen, originally pigeonholed as a shooter, has expanded his role by initiating and attacking the paint, drawing help, and finding cutters. He's a good example of how role players have adapted: more playmaking, more finishing at the rim, and a willingness to absorb contact for the team. The bigger surprise has been Dillon Brooks, who has emerged as a legitimate second option. He's averaging a career-high scoring clip near 21 points per game and has demonstrated an ability to create shots for himself and others through physicality and craft. Brooks thrives in mid-range and short roll spaces where his footwork and willingness to bump defenders lead to pull-ups, finishes at the rim, or kickouts. Vogel's structure sets to exploit his strengths with dribble handoffs and pick and rolls that give Brooks space to operate. He's not flawless, but his consistent aggressiveness fills a void Phoenix had when the roster lost high-usage creators. Mark Williams' wingspan and the long instinctive rebounds it produces, it is another quietly critical offensive component. Plays that look like missed opportunities become extra possessions when Williams reaches up and tips the ball back into play. Those plays rarely make highlight reels, but they change possession counts and keep pressure on opponents mentally and physically. The offense's increased unpredictability, multiple drivers, more cutting, and role players making plays helps Phoenix create easier scoring chances even when Booker isn't the primary initiator. Chapter 9. Why it matters. In a league trending toward offense-first rules and freer driving lanes, a defense that refuses to yield becomes a strategic anomaly. Refs are less likely to swallow whistles, and offenses are given more runway. The Suns counter by turning intensity into a force multiplier. Their approach forces opponents to execute under duress, repeated possessions of discomfort that add up late in games. The commitment to effort, the clarity of rotations, and the personnel built for turbulence rather than glamour make Phoenix competitively dangerous. They aren't relying on shot volume from a superstar duo. They're manufacturing possessions, winning the physical battles, and counting on a rotation deep enough to sustain the tempo. Chapter 10. Fathom the bigger picture. This Suns team is an example of organizational clarity translating into a distinct identity. Ownership demanded toughness, the coaching staff implemented a replicable system, and the roster was constructed to embody those directives. The outcome is a team that will not out-talent every opponent, but will out-hustle and outstructure many of them. Whether this model holds long-term depends on health, how opponents adjust, and the continued buy-in from players. But for now, Phoenix is a case study in how a franchise can pivot from star dependency to disciplined, disruptive basketball that wins games in one of the NBA's fiercest conferences. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like this one right here. It's definitely something you'll be interested in. Click it now.